What's going on, everybody? I'm Jeff Kirkshin, and welcome to another episode of Do What You Love. And I am so excited to talk to this week's guest because when you think of Vegas, you think of live music, you think of performances, you think of great acts, performers, and, hey, you've probably seen this guy performing in Las Vegas if you visited. I consider him a legend amongst Las Vegans. Now, he's too humble to admit it. We have Frankie Scinta on with us. This is such an honor to have you on the podcast.
It's a privilege. Thank you, Jeff, so much. Thank you, man.
And you can
legend. I don't know.
Well, you can tell from his voice too. He's just got that booming performer voice. But if you think his candor and speaking voice is beautiful, wait until you hear his singing voice. I mean, Frankie Scinta, you're just kind of stitched into the world of Las Vegas, and I want to go back to the beginning of you coming to Vegas, the Scintas, and what was that experience like of having your own show, your own moment, your own ticketed event, multiple nights a week in Vegas? How cool of a feeling is that?
It was a dream come true. If I could tell you, being a Sicilian American, an American Sicilian, and how many Italian guys during the years we performed came up to us and go, "I'm going to get you to Vegas." And they were all full of crap,
Right.
And then one guy out of Detroit, Michigan, Joe Vicari, we had performed in his place, and a very soft-spoken Italian guy, he said, "You know what? I'm going to get you guys to Vegas." And to make a long story short, him and another guy named Dick Scott, who owned a bunch of car dealerships in Detroit, still does. They got together and they put up the money to bring us to the Las Vegas Hilton. Well, they put up about 350 grand. And I was the last one to want to come to Vegas. Everybody was like, "Yeah, let's do it." I go, I don't want to leave my roots, my family. I'm still, but always was a family, my uncles, my aunts, my cousins. I want to be in Buffalo, even though Buffalo, the weather sucked. I mean, everything about it was nothing about entertainment, but we traveled East Coast, Midwest. So anyway, we did it. Within 6 months, a bunch of hotels came after us, and nobody knew who the hell the Scinta was. In fact, it's spelled Scinta. So Scinta, Scinta. So they spelled it phonetically on the billboard at the Hilton. They said the Scintas, and underneath it said Shintas, Shinths, Shintas. What's a Scinta? And it's music, comedy, impressions. Finally, after a year at the Hilton, we signed a deal at the Rio. Within 8 months of that, they signed us to 5 years more.
Wow.
And it was a multi-million-dollar contract. It was big. And who thought? A kid from the west side of Buffalo, his dad was a fireman. My dad made $300 every 2 weeks, but our refrigerator was chock full. That was my dad. He had the opportunity to work for the union. My uncle ran the truck drivers union back in Buffalo, New York. My dad could have got a cush job sitting in an office, but my dad was the kind of guy, one of 8 brothers, second youngest. He said, "You know what? When I earn my money, when I lay down at night, I earned every penny." My dad was a real man, and he taught us well. So we learned from a great man. We got here, it all happened it wasn't in an eye blink, it took a lifetime, but we had fame. We're on 100 cab tops, we're on 50 billboards, we're on magazine covers. Me, my brother Joe, my sister Chrissy. We got a band behind us. We never had a band. We were the band. It was me, Joe, Chrissy, our drummer, Pete O'Donnell. We were the band. Every impression I did or song, I did from the piano. And if I got up from the piano, the only musical background I had was my brother on the bass and the drummer. So when I did silly things like George Burns, like let's say he was an old old iconic entertainer, and I would do a song. It would just be bass behind it, but it worked. And we would get standing ovations no matter where we played across the country. But Vegas was different. We had a producer, a director. We had wardrobe people. We had assistants. We had sound people now. It was unbelievable. And it lasted almost 6 years at the Rio. Then some kid came in. It's probably a new crew of people came in. Why are we paying entertainers when they'll pay us to perform in our showrooms?
Oh.
What? So then the Rio said, your contract's up, but if you want to stay, just give us $24,000 a week and we'll keep you here.
They're asking you to pay to play after your massive contract and all of the money you brought to their property and all of the money you brought to their casino tables, to their bars, and they say, "Hey, this is great, guys. How about you pay us now?"
But they didn't just do it to us. It was every entertainer in Vegas that got that offer. There were other headliners, local headliners, Lance Burton, George Wallace, that great comedian. Everybody that were getting that same offer. And for guys that had a lot of money, it worked. We had money and we tried it. At the behest of our manager, we left because other properties were less money. Like the Hilton, they would take us back for only $15,000.
Wow.
So we did that. Now, me being the kind of guy that I was and brought up the way I was, the Hilton was a union property. I wouldn't get rid of my light and sound guy and my assistant. So they had to shadow the union guys. So I'm paying the union guys, paying for the room, paying our own advertisement. By the time we paid everything, my brother, my sister, and myself and the band, we had, $150, $200, maybe $300 left a piece. Well, after a period of a year and a half of doing that, then we tried the Sahara, which I like to call the Titanic. We lost another ton of money. Four-wall didn't work. I decided I'm never going to do that again. I'm not a stripper. Strippers pay to perform. I'm not a stripper. Nobody wants to see me naked. Not even me. So that didn't work. I decided we're not going to do that again. So I decided to kind of take over the business myself. And I started negotiating with other properties on my own. The Plaza, the D with Derek Stevens, who was a great guy. We were there 2 years. It wasn't our demographic. The showroom it wasn't a showroom. It was I think it was a bathroom converted into a showroom or something, right? I mean, but I love Derek Stevens. He treated us great. And the crowd there wasn't our demographic. And so Vegas has changed a lot. But I got to tell you, what your show is called, Do What You Love. I don't only love what I do, I live to do what I do.
Wow.
And I will until I die. When people say, well, when are you going to retire? When I'm dead, because I live to perform. As long as there's one guy or one girl that'll sit there and listen to what I do, I'll sing until 4 a.m. You know what I mean?
Wow. So with that being said, talking about you'll perform till you die. I mean, my dad's a baseball writer and baseball analyst, and I think he's going to keep writing and doing what he does until he dies too. And I hope I have a long life like, my dad has had to be able to do the same. But, in a time where performing wasn't really like a thing for a while during quarantine and during COVID, you found a way to still get to people. And I think that's incredible.
I have to give it to my kids, my daughter Danielle and my son. They started telling me, Dad, why don't you go on Facebook and, just do a live thing? And I'm going, who the hell is going to watch me sing? Dad, they'll all watch you. There's people all over the country that you've been performing for forever. So all we had, this is the truth. I didn't even have an amplifier. Entertainers don't have equipment in their house. We don't.
Right.
I have guitars and I have a banjo. I have a couple banjos, mandolins. I don't have amplifiers, mics. That's all given to us when you get to the gig. So I told my cousin in Buffalo, self-made millionaire. You know, he built his own company. He's a computer genius. He's one of the guys that helped develop some of the first computers. I won't get into all that, but he's a genius. I told him, Joe, I need something to sing through. He goes, well, I got a bunch of Fender amplifiers. I'm going to buy you one. Go to Guitar Center in Vegas. It'll be there tomorrow. So it was there. So now I go, well, there's 2 channels. All right. In 3 days, I'm sending you a mixer. It's a little digital mixer, 4-channel. It's got effects on it. So now we got a couple channels, a little reverb, and I got 1 microphone. So now I got my piano and I got a microphone, and that's in an iPhone, which was an iPhone 7, and we started doing it. Well, within, I would say, 3 weeks of doing this, we were getting 20,000 views a week. And I'm going, how could this be? So my kids started telling me, Dad, you got to monetize this. And I'm going, no way. I don't do this for money. I do, but Dad, you're not working. Now a month goes by, 2 months go by, 3 months go by. Now real lockdown, everything. You know, remember when the stores, you couldn't get toilet paper? I mean, it really got ugly. Now we're in it about 6 months. Dad, you got to do something. There's no money coming. You're in trouble. I go, we still got a little money. Mom saved it. We saved it. But Dad, you got to do something. We're going to put up a Venmo, PayPal. I go, don't you do it. And I cried. I argued. I fought. Don't do it. Don't do it. So unbeknownst to me, about a month later, now we're looking at 8 months, into this.
Wow.
They put up a Venmo thing because people started asking them, tell us where we could do this. We want to donate. Because they said, my dad won't let us. My dad won't let us. So they started donating. And I get emotional talking about it. Because I never wanted that. But people started giving from their hearts. And I'll tell you what, man, in the worst time in my life that who thought in our lifetime that we couldn't do what we love to do? That entertainers across the nation couldn't perform anywhere. I mean, I never thought. I started doing this at 7 years old and never looked back. I never went a month without entertaining or getting some money. And people have shown love from all over the country and other countries. I mean, Canada. I was getting, donations from Canada, and it blew me away, the love that I've gotten from around the country. And you hear so much hatred, Jeff, on the news, and you hear all this. Could I say shit?
You can say shit. Yep.
I'm sick of the shit that we hear because, the white, the black, you got to teach this and you got to tell these kids they're no good. These kids are good. There's so much love. There's an abundance of love in this country that people aren't talking about. And that is so important that nobody's talking about it, but I've seen it and I feel it. And the people that give are every race, religion, and nationality across the board. And I got to tell you, my father-in-law, who's blind and almost deaf, he said it most poignantly. He said, He calls me Papa. How's that for respect? He
Wow.
calls me like my grandkids. Hey, Papa. He goes, you know what? I can't see. But when I talk to people, if they're nice to me, I know how good they are. I don't care what color they are or if they're rich or poor or what they're wearing. He goes, I could just tell they're nice. And that meant, so I think what we all need to do is close our eyes. And that, to me, this COVID thing, as bad as it was, it taught me a life lesson. I became closer with my kids and my daughter and my son, although we've always been closer with them than I ever could have imagined I could have been. And when I worked with my brother and my sister, I've worked with them almost my whole life. Chrissy had to drop out because of her vocal cords. Joey passed away almost 5 years ago now in November. I work with strangers now. When I got to work with my kids again, I was working with family again. And that, to me, I enjoy that, I think, more than any stage performance I've ever done.
Wow.
So really brought
mean,
them up.
I think that your kids doing what they did to push you to start taking donations, to start, getting some income from it. I understand how you would feel uncomfortable for that. I get that. And I think that only just shows what a performer you are, that, hey, I just want people to smile again, right? I just want to give them a reason to smile. And that's what your performing does. And, I remember talking to your daughter, Danielle, about all the work she got to put in and how fun it was for her because she was helping you do what you love. And now look at you. You're mixing, you're playing live, you're doing all this stuff, which before, as you said, you didn't have speakers, you didn't have mixers, you didn't do any of that stuff. You had guys to do it for you. But now, when you talk about coming into 2021, I mean, you have reinvented yourself as a performer, and I think it's fantastic. And there are people, I can't even imagine, if I were you, I would have gone through, because some of your shows are hour and a half on Facebook Live, and I've had a chance of watching them, and I would go through after each one if I were you and just read the people. Oh, I saw you back in 2000, I saw you back in the 90s, whatever it was. And because I'm sure they have so many great stories of seeing you and your brother and your sister performing
amazing.
live.
It brings back memories of, it's amazing how people loved what we did all those years and how they remember you and what you've done for them. People that say, you don't understand, when I was going through cancer, I lost my father or my child, how you lifted our spirits. You don't think of those things. Mm-hmm. When you hear them, it's like, wow, this is why God put me on this earth. If for nothing else, man, oh man, gave me all this music ability to touch people's hearts. And, it's a great feeling. There's nothing, sometimes when I walk off this set, almost every time, when my son, the camera goes off, I turn around and I'm a mess because I feel the love that just happened through that camera lens. I never thought I could feel that.
Mm-hmm. It's so similar to the way I feel about what I get to do every day in hosting a radio show. I remember the first time I really felt connected after telling a story on the radio, being truly vulnerable, really putting myself out there, and just seeing a message from somebody who emailed me and said, hey, I wanted to let you know that I've been through that too. I talked about my grandmother moved in with me and my family when I was 15, and she had Alzheimer's, and I very quickly had to grow up. My sister was in college, so it was just my parents, me, and my grandmother. And you quickly learn a lot about, this woman helped raise me, changed my diaper 100 times. Why can't I change her diaper? And talking about growing up, and my dad always said, we laugh so we don't cry, because those days can be really difficult with somebody sick like that. And I remember the first time I really felt comfortable talking about it, She just passed away last summer, but this was probably 6 or 7 years ago. And I just talked about my grandmother, and it was National Alzheimer's Awareness Day. And my co-host said, you should talk about it. And I was like, my first initial thought was, nobody cares. Nobody wants to know about that. But when I really truly was able to be vulnerable with my audience and feel that support through my microphone, I was bawling. I mean, I got off the mic and I played a song and I was crying.
It's a great feeling to know there's people out there that care.
Yeah.
And they're not one kind of people. They're all kinds of people.
Yeah, and I think that's really poignant what you brought up earlier is to be more like your father-in-law. I think we all need to close our eyes a little bit and just realize that, hey, like, we're all God's people here. We all got to treat each other a little bit better. I mean, when I went during COVID and quarantine, I did the Venmo challenge where people would and talk about, feeling awkward. I don't like asking for money either, but I asked people to donate to my personal Venmo, and I'd go out every Friday and give it to a server because servers were having so much trouble. The service industry was having so much trouble. And, the first week it was $60. The next week it was $120. The next week it was $500. And then my final one was $1,000 to a server at the Cracker Barrel over by the Silverton. And she was a single mom, and she actually had to cut hours back because her daughter wasn't going to school, because her daughter couldn't go to school. And so in a time where she needed to make more money, she was making less money. And it was the uniting of people. I didn't front $1,000. I put $25 each time we did one. So I probably put in $300 of my own dollars. But I think it's beautiful when people come together to do something beautiful.
That's beautiful, Jeff.
And seeing the comments and all of the people who are excited to see you on Facebook Live, I think that's so cool. How, for you, nervous were you to do that first show? Because you are a showman. I mean, you're used to being in front of thousands and thousands of people, holding your arms up and serenading people in the front row and pulling them in and catching eyes with them. And now you're doing literally exactly what you and I are doing right now, staring into cameras. How weird is that feeling? I know.
It was, I've done television, I've done radio, but when you're performing, waiting for that kickback of applause or laughter, and you just gotta guess that it's there. At first, it was awkward.
Yeah.
But what's great for me, and probably for you, because you have a partner on the radio who's very talented, by the way. And I've known her a long time. I known her before she was funny.
Oh, yeah.
Like my partner.
Right.
My daughter, I swear to God, I don't think I could do the live without her. She really, that is what is bouncing off of me. Mm-hmm. And you know what I mean? She waits for me. It's almost like, when my brother and I when he was on, before Joe got sick, like the 3 years before he passed, he had so much going on physically, mentally. He wasn't Joe. But before that, if you ever look at some of the old footage of me doing Dean Martin and him doing Jerry Lewis, that was all ad-libbed, and he was so fast to come back to me. That's how Danielle is. And that to me is magic. When you got that, that can't be contrived. It's like real. And it's like bang, 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 bang. That's comedy. And, that's entertainment. People live for that.
I think you're absolutely right. And you're right about my co-host. I've never been anything but a morning radio guy, because the thought of telling a joke and have it go into the room that I'm in empty and being, oh crap, I hope that landed. It's like when you would do dress rehearsals. It would like when you would enter into a new space and you would allot time for laughs. I used to be a stage performer. I did all the musicals and plays growing up, and we were taught, hey, don't forget, that's a funny line. That's a moment that you need to rest in order to give the time. My senior year, and I think you'll love this, we did a stage version of The Odd Couple. And I played Oscar Madison, the disgruntled, dirty, divorced sports writer. And I could definitely channel the sports writer side having my dad, but disgruntled New York divorced man was tough for a 17-year-old to come into. So I sat with my dad and read lines. He played Felix Unger, I played Oscar Madison, and he would make sure that I knew, hey, like, you're going to want to hit this line. And he's not an actor, but he gets performance. He gets storytelling, just like yourself. So when you're preparing that show and you're knowing, having Danielle there for the live makes an entire, because she's there for the moment, and you can have a smile after your joke and say, all right, calm down, Danielle, let's move on.
Right. And if it sucks, she's there to let you know, yeah, that wasn't funny.
Right. That's the best part. And what I love about my co-host Amy here in Las Vegas for 102.7 Coyote Country, she is the greatest. She is the greatest audience in the world. I am a goofball. I am an idiot. But she's also the one to tell me, hey, that was, we can do better next time. You could do better next time. She's my biggest supporter, my biggest laugh track, but she's also not afraid to, I don't want to say stand up to me. We're equal parts in this, but she would be the first to say, hey, I don't know if that's our best bit. Let's rethink it. And we can work together to find better. And I think that's so important in performance. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, like, Danielle's my best critic, and she's the first one to tell me something doesn't work, or, yeah, maybe you should stay away from that, Dad.
Right.
Or your glasses, because they're fucking ugly.
Or what? My glasses.
Is she there right now?
Yeah, she's there.
I came over to help him.
Oh, have you
Came
been
over
here?
to help.
Okay, so we have to make this clear. Hop on screen, Danielle, if you have a second.
Disgusting.
Okay, you don't have to hop on screen, but hop on mic where I can hear you a little better.
Yeah,
Danielle. Now we're getting We're getting into a little bit of nepotism here, so to speak, because Danielle hosts her own podcast, Making It with the Mackins, and I'm going to get the episode number wrong, but she joined Do What You Love with her amazing husband because of their very successful, very fun podcast, and you can tell where the entertainment factor comes, Danielle, with your dad.
I mean, I grew up with him being on stage. Like, my whole childhood was going to his shows, watching him and Uncle Joe, and even Uncle Pete, Amy's uncle. Mm-hmm. Uncle Pete is like,
he was
the king of one-liners. So, like, in that dead air where you listen for something, Uncle Pete caught onto it. If Uncle Joe didn't, Uncle Pete threw it out there. So I grew up watching this shtick kind of comedy, and it was very like, and even at our house, we'd be sitting around a fire, and they would tell stories about growing up on the road, and you talk about fires, and the time Uncle Pete and Uncle Joe hit a deer on the road and their car blew up. And I mean, and then
he got a bill from the fire department.
Yeah, he got a bill.
No.
He got a bill, and he goes, "Are you shitting me? I didn't ask you to put the fire out."
There's so many things. It's just like, we grew up in a household where being funny and like, it was just conversational. Yeah. And like, I think that I mean, obviously I'm not a singer. I can't sing for shit, but I try.
No, but people love that.
Yeah, people love that I screw up. But he, I think his people like is seeing us together, I think. Like, seeing all, like, oh, look how cute the daughter trying to sing.
No, but my best example is Bernadette Peters. And
right.
like
in
the movie,
saying, like, what,
the movie The Jerk, when they sang together,
amazing.
I know
you
belong.
Yeah,
To
like
right.
Yeah, those are the songs. Those are the songs that don't require a lot of talent. And then he has me sing once in a while on his live, and my brother played the guitar. So like he said, it's become like, I mean, I'm sure he talked about this already with you, but it's become a very, like, where it used to be his family, and then he kind of did it on his own for a while. Now it kind of like full circle, but in a different way. Like,
well, and he said many times that, performing with his sister and brother was like his greatest honor, and that's what he did. And now, in a way, it's the Scintas again, but it's you and your brother, and I think that's so fitting for a full circle career to now take it from my siblings to my children. When you, Danielle, remember watching the Scintas at the Rio, and you were very young, and now you are a part of the show. And he even mentioned that.
No, I'm so glad he finally realized how talented I was. He kind of like, you're a nice singer. You're okay. You're not as good as your cousins, but you can. But I'm, whatever.
Danielle, you are so sweet. I just looked it up. You're awesome. Episode 3 of Do What You Love features Danielle and her husband. Making It with the Mackins is their podcast. And Danielle, thank you for
also,
willingly crashing. I wanted you to crash, so don't feel like you're crashing.
I usually come in and check on my dad, but
I didn't invite you.
The other good thing is I use his fans. I plug my podcast, so now I have like listeners from all over the place. So it's a mutually beneficial thing.
Right, we're all promoting each other here,
Yeah,
and I'm gonna make sure people are watching Frankie Scinta's next show and being a part of that as well. We're all working together here. Frankie Scinta on Do What You Love, and you got to make sure July and August will be on tour, but we've got fall dates here in Las Vegas at the South Point. Also, August 12th, am I right on that? The Italian American Club?
Yep.
Oh my gosh. So limited tickets available.
Yeah, it's a dinner show too. It's great food, great ambiance. Only place you could go where you see judges, lawyers, doctors, and gangsters in the same place.
It's like classic Vegas. I mean,
it is.
So before I let you go, Vegas is reinventing itself. We talked about that a little bit earlier. What year did you move to Las Vegas? What year did you make it permanent?
We came here in 2000.
And what is the biggest difference you would say from 2000 Las Vegas to 2021 Las Vegas? Now, let's take COVID out of all of this, but what would you say is the biggest difference?
When I came here in 2000, there were headliners in showrooms, local headliners, in almost every showroom, even when the big stars came in. Mm-hmm. And there were lounges with live entertainment. Every hotel had a lounge with live entertainment till at least 4 a.m.
Wow.
That brought people in. People drank, they watched the entertainment, they ate at the casino, they drank, they stayed at the casino, they gambled at the casino, they hear the live music in the background, they're having fun, they're dancing, and they had a ball. But it was an eclectic group, 30 to 70 with expendable cash. Today, it's a younger crowd coming here because there's no longer, they've pushed the high rollers out of Las Vegas. They didn't want the high rollers anymore. They wanted the younger crowd. They got them. These are the people that are 21 to maybe almost 30. They go to the clubs. They go to the pools. They pay $1,500 for a bottle of Sky vodka to sit in a booth and hope that LeBron James walks in so they can wave to him and he won't look at them. And they spend their wad on one night. They're not gamers. A lot of them don't gamble, but the clubs are making money and the pools are making money, but it's a different Las Vegas. It is different. There's no local headliners anymore. Nobody's doing 5 nights a week anymore. Everybody used to do 5, 6 nights a week. I don't think we're going to see that for a while. I don't know when it might come back. I'm not sure when. What I'd like to do in the future, within a year or so, is open my own place.
Wow. And that would be like a dream come true for you, your family, all of those, because I know this is a family affair for you. Family above all else. I mean, and if you ever, and I mean ever, need an MC, somebody to bring you on and whip the crowd up a little bit. I bought a house here. I have a fiance here. I'm screwed. I'm here for a long time, whether 1027 Coyote Country wants me or not. So
You got a new family.
I love it, and I felt the warmth today. I've been over to your daughter's place, and I have to say I can't wait. You and I have not been introduced in person yet, which is a shame, but we'll make that happen.
You're invited over to the house.
I cannot wait. I would love to hear you perform. I would love to. I play a little bit of the piano, nothing to your degree. I'll bring my little ukulele over.
All right.
I taught myself because the guitar was just a little too big for my little body. It made me look too small in front of the ladies. So I thought ukulele made me look a little meaner. So
very cool.
Well, Frankie Scinta, thank you so much for your time, and
My pleasure.
I can't thank you enough. And I'm gonna put all of the information, details about the shows and the tickets we talked about. So if you're
In my live, listen, one Sunday night, why don't you come over for a live and watch it in person?
I would love to be your in-studio audience. That would be my honor.
All right.
That's so cool.
You're invited.
We'll link that live and the pages and your website and everything in the description of this video or the podcast. Wherever you're watching, make sure to subscribe and rate it and follow. We thank you. Frankie Scinta, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you, brother. Nice talking to you, Jeff.